seen you in my dreams. In a house, white picket fence, a beautiful family. Wherever you are, when I wake up, I'm gonna find you, love you.
Yeah, they call me Nigel Collins. She was brown skin, 5'3", long hair with hella ass, toasting on.
One.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm real happy. That's why I'm dancing. That's why I'm doing that. You know what I mean? Because I'm real happy, man. God is working it out in my life, in my brother's life. Welcome back to another episode of the Path of Brotherly Love podcast documentary, the first of its kind, where I have my brother and me showing y'all our life. But we do interviews like a podcast, but it's the path because he got my back. Shout out to my brother, the champ, man. He has been scoring us some awesome interviews. And tonight, we're bringing you a very special guest, Nigel Collins, a reporter from England. He's been doing this since the 1970s, which that's nice over 50 years, you know. He's been reporting on some of the biggest fighters, like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had a big name. Everybody know Mike the Champ. So shout out to Nigel Collins. We appreciate you and you taking the time to figure out how to log in, because I was hearing on my end that, you know, it took us a while to get this interview because Nigel Collins, you know, he's been around for a while, man. So he had to figure out how to work this new technology that we got. And listen, my brother ain't no better because he had to, you see how we develop technology. He a old head too. They like dinosaurs. But shout out to everybody in the entertainment kingdom. That was a little low blow. I see my brother, he throwing his fist up in the back of it. But I love him anyway. But right here, man, today, God has been a blessing. There's always something to report on how we have negative things happening in our country with mass shootings every day. I mean, like I said on the last show, when Kurt got assassinated, since then he's been buried, and we had a church. A dude takes a truck, driving to a church, kill 4 people, hurt 5 other people, and then set the church on fire. I mean, the world, yes, that's bad. Then we had something else happening here in Pennsylvania where a dude was infatuated with some woman he worked with. I don't know if they had a relationship or not, but he kills her husband, and their 1-year-old baby, throw the baby in the river. I mean, there's been another mass shooting since then. It's just crazy, but that's why it's our job. Yes, not to get discouraged. Yes, it's sad. We pray for them. We mourn them. We take a moment in silence to reflect. Don't just turn on the Eagles game right after hearing that without reflecting on it. Taking at least 30 minutes to say a prayer for these families, because these are people that suffer. But then also in that prayer, ask God to use us as lights in the darkness to go out of your way to forgive somebody that's doing something bad to you. Like Jesus did. Jesus was blameless. He wouldn't ask for revenge on his enemies. He wouldn't be like, God, get them for this. He said, no, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The magical part of that is when you do stuff like that, the Holy Spirit comes inside of you. You experience the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit then opens up your consciousness and gives you revelations about your future, because you're obedient to God. God will open you up and start whispering to you, telling you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, do this, do that. Do you. So you could just say, thy kingdom done, thy will be done on heaven as well as on earth. So we take Jesus and through the Holy Spirit, the mystery of him still being alive, and minister through us. So in the midst of all of that shit, all of the bad stuff, with us showing the love, we also reap the benefits of experiencing the quickening of the spirit within our souls and the vibrations of the elevation of our vibration to a higher level of consciousness. So shout out today here. I'm a little pumped up. I got my glasses on because we had a show here in prison. it took a while for me to bring this recovery show because there's a lot of rules with the DOC policy. But the jail went out and bought us pretzels and Arizona juices from the Philadelphia pretzel factory, fresh with mustard, and they gave us cookies. And just 3 weeks ago, we was on a blackout where we couldn't use the phone and nothing. But God is working. That was a lesson for me to know that you keep your eye on God through the storm, and He'll deliver. And then not only that, He'll put a cherry on top, just like Job. Job went through a lot of stuff, but then God gave it back. The same way, like for me to be able to perform here in prison, it took me out of jail for a little while. I'm on a natural high. So we definitely going to get out there when we get out. Once again, shout out to Nigel Collins. And again, people, God bless His cheerful givers. If you donate money to our show, if you look at our cash app at the end and you donate money, then God will bless you and you're a blessing to others because we still broadcasting. And shout out to our people that did donate money to us to keep us rolling. We appreciate the donations we took in this one. But we need more. Shout out to my Aunt Madonna. She is a patriot for us. She looks out for us. Shout out to Aunt Madonna. We like to see you, Aunt. So listen, we love you guys. This is the Pepper Brotherly Love. I'll be out of here soon. That's another reason why I'm blessed. I just heard I may be getting out sooner than what I thought, which is very soon. And we're going to be tearing it up. We're going to be everywhere. New York, everywhere, man. Tearing it up, man. So God bless y'all. Pepper Brotherly Love Podcast documentary. We out. Love y'all.
Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Path for Brotherly Love featuring Sean Purnell and Randy Purnell. Today I have a special guest all the way from England, correct?
Well,
April 7, 1940. Was it
46.
1946? 1940. 46. All right, April 7th. Okay, came to, you migrated to America. You boxed in the Army. Okay, and from your grandfather and your father, them talking about boxing, the legends really made you want to fight. So, all right, so we're going to start from the very beginning.
Okay.
What was your real passion to getting into boxing, then managing boxers, then writing about boxing? What was your whole scoop?
Well, I mean, definitely it was my grandfather and my father that got me interested. And before I had a license to drive, my father would take me to fights, especially at the old Philadelphia arena. Um,
Mm.
I just, I think that I've said this in my book, but I didn't do this to become a journalist, which I did become. I did it because I wanted to be part of boxing. And it ended up that even though I did manage some fighters and had an amateur career, a very short one in the Army, I ended up being a journalist.
Okay. Okay. So you remember some fights that you seen like back when you were young, like the older fights your dad took you to?
Yeah, one of my early fights, it could have been the first fight I've seen. It was Archie Moore and Yvonne Durrell, the one where
Uh
he came off the floor after about. What happened is my father had some friends and watching it on TV. And that was such an exciting fight, I could hear them yelling when I should have been in bed asleep. So they let me come. They let me come in and say, "You might as well sit down and watch the fight with us." And so that was really the first fight. And boy, what a fight to start with. I mean, Archie Moore was down. I can't remember how many times, but he finally won by a knockout. And it was amazing because it looked like he was dead for a while.
right, right. Wow. And at the precipice of everything, you was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. That is a prestigious thing to happen. and it happened.
Yeah, that happened in 2015, and yes, it was an honor because people within boxing do the voting. It's not just fans. So yeah, it's what's funny about it is I had written some for the program for a number of years, and there was a boxer, there was a writer rather that got in the year before me. His name was Graham Houston, and he said to me, he said, "Nigel, you're going to feel like a movie star for 3 or 4 days." And really, that's exactly like it is. It's a very it'll only happen to you once in your life. And
That's
it
right.
was I had my grandson and my daughter with me, and that made it special as well. And I only wear my ring to boxing events because I know if I wore it all the time, I'd lose the damn thing. So it's reserved
Right.
for covering
Right.
fights or going to something like a banquet. But yeah, I mean, it was a long time to get there, and I won some other awards along the way, and since then, but that's the biggie. And
Yeah.
I had been voting for years in it, but when you are nominated, you're not allowed to vote. So
Right.
yeah, so I couldn't vote for
Right.
myself, but yeah, it's a very special thing.
That is beautiful. Yeah, that's very beautiful. And it's interesting because the name, Nigel Collins, the name, I've been looking at the name for a lot of years. I started boxing in like 85. I was 15 years old. And I used to love the Ring magazine, the KO magazine, the Boxing Illustrated. I watch them. You tear out the pictures and post them up of the champions. But every article, Nigel Collins. I'm like, wait a
Well,
minute,
I
man.
mean, I think it was in 1984 that I became a staffer for the Ring. Before, I was just a freelancer for many years. And 85 was the first, January 85 was the first issue that I was actually the editor in chief of. And I had a steep learning curve, because you're responsible for everything when you're the editor in chief, not just a few things. And I guess I made some mistakes along the way. I think a couple of them would be putting the wrong fighter on the cover um, because
Right.
the fans want to see their favorite fighters on the cover. And I put a few guys on that before they were at that level. But my first time as editor was very lucky that Mike Tyson was coming into everybody's TV all the time. It was during his build up, and Mike Tyson helped to sell magazines. So he was on the cover a lot. And
Yeah.
then there was a period of 4 or 5 years where I didn't work for the Ring. And then I came back again. And so it was, who's crazy enough to do it twice? I am. But because it's always a string, a very small budget, because boxing magazines, believe it or not, do not sell well, and where they do sell well is in the United Kingdom, in England. Magazines are sold by the percentage. If you make a certain number of magazines printed, the percentage of that you sell is where the money comes from. And although England is a much smaller country, percentage wise, they sold twice as many as it's sold in the United States. And if the United States had, percentage was as high as the UK, we'd have all been rich, but it never did that way because boxing started in England, modern boxing in the bare knuckle era, and so even though they complain about there's not enough boxing in the newspaper and on TV, it's a lot better there than it is here uh, on a long term basis.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, when you said about the Boxing Hall of Fame is voted on by people in boxing, and the thing about it, because when I spoke with James Tony, the first thing he said was Nigel Collins. He's like the walking Bible of boxing. He knows things I don't even know. So people revere you, champions revere you, fighters revere you. You know, and they know that you know what you're talking about.
Well, I think it's
And
because I've been
so,
doing it for so damn long. They can't get rid of me. But that's very nice because James Tony, for all of his, tough guy stuff, he's a real sweetheart underneath it all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a nice guy. I was thinking about in a week or two going up to where, because you know he like trains almost every day. Go up there to the gym with him and work out with him for a little bit. He's living in like I think it's called Chatworth, Los Angeles. He's in like the suburbs, but I was gonna go to the gym, a few days with him, check him out, maybe even do some filming, just
Well, where do you live?
uh, I live in Virginia.
Okay, so
I
you
live in
got you
Virginia. I'm
go
from
you got a
Philly.
long way to go. Yeah, I mean, he's always been very open to the fans
Hmm.
and the media. Some of the media was not always kind to him. I think that's because
Right.
they didn't understand boxing that well. But
Right.
he became a huge star because he hung in there for so long. I mean,
Yeah.
the middleweight James Toney is nothing like the heavyweight James Toney. And to go through
Right.
all of those weights and still be successful was quite a task.
Yes. Yes, it sure was. Sure was. And I'm still thinking about him stopping Vander Holyfield. Like, really. Even though it was past his prime, it still was a middleweight moved up to heavyweight.
Yeah, that was
you know.
a big win for him, and anybody who beats Holyfield, it's a big deal, even though he was past his prime. Like all boxers eventually get to that point, or
That's
virtually all
right.
boxers. And I think, speaking of Mayweather, I think Mayweather was smart to get out when he did, even though he was still on top, because he saw his uncle Roger, and he saw his go downhill all of a
That's
sudden.
right.
And I think that scared him into thinking, well, I don't want to be like that. And
That's
he
right.
did a smart thing because he certainly had enough money. So it's good to get out when you can because
Right.
so many don't.
That's right. That's right. I remember because Joe Frazier, when I turned pro, he was my manager, and just looking back on some of the times walking in the gym and then seeing him, his movement, his mannerism, and just looking, and I think maybe I don't know if he got out at a good time, you know, because some of his later fights, it wasn't Joe. You know what I mean? Some of his later
Yeah,
fights.
I don't think he stayed, real long after he should have got out. But certainly that fight against Jumbo Cummings that he had like 5 years afterwards, he didn't need that. But the thing
Yeah,
is, once a boxer, always a boxer. You don't even have to be a world champion. Even if you
that's
were
right.
just an amateur boxer, that's your identity forever. And I think
Right.
I think that's why some of them stay. Usually, you know, I say it's always the money, and it is always the money. But I think they also miss being a boxer when they get out because it doesn't matter who you are. You know, your uncle was a boxer. He's always going to be a boxer. And it's just something that it gets in their blood, and it gets in the blood of the fans. Because let's face it, the fans will sit through many horrible fights waiting for a good one. And there's not, you know, I don't think football, baseball, basketball will have that kind of patience. But
Right.
yeah, it's a weird thing. I tell a story about Joey Giardello, who lived in Philadelphia, middleweight,
Right.
and George Benton, who was a middleweight from Philadelphia. And
Okay.
this happened to be at a funeral from a great boxing writer, Jack McKinney. And it was real hot inside the church. And I came out to get a little fresh air on the steps. And there was Giardello standing in front of me smoking a cigarette. And a few minutes later, Georgie Benton came out, and he didn't look very good. He was had a younger person helping him down the steps, and he wasn't long going to live after that. But as he passed Joey Giardello, in all seriousness, looked over and said, "I can beat you now." Because he had been beaten by George Benton when they were both, you know, actually active fighters. So, you
Right.
know, that shows you what these guys are like. Yeah, he could have beaten
Right.
him then, but Joey Giardello was a great fighter. He was one of the few fighters that would take on all the black fighters. And that's how we got
Right.
Sugar Ray Robinson to come to Philadelphia to fight him. Sugar Ray didn't want to fight him, but Joey Giardello's manager and trainer went up to New York, and they took the ring record book with them, and they showed Ray Robinson how his record was filled with the best black fighters as well as the best fighters. And that's the reason Sugar Ray came to Philadelphia. And he lost the fight. But that goes to show you how much respect he had for Giardello.
Right. Right. Wow. That's it. That's pretty good. I agree with you on the fighters. You know, and for some reason, like in your mind, you don't see the reality. Your reality is different. Your reality is still captured in like a time capsule where you were, how you because like I said, I started in '85. Uh, I had close to 100 amateur fights. Okay, I turned pro later than I should have turned pro. Uh, but it's like when I get on the bag, I'm hitting the bag. Like now, I'm thinking like I was that same teenager, just hitting the bag, and I'm thinking it's moving fast, but it's probably not as fast as I think it is. But in my mind,
Well, you
it's
know, it's good
fast.
to keep working out at your age. It's not good to
Right.
spar. But, you know, because, you know, a
Right.
lot of the injuries, especially head injuries that boxers get, they get it in the gym.
Right.
You know, because it's just you're getting hit a lot in the gym, you know,
That's right.
and over the years, you know, just not training for one fight, and just keep hitting the bag, man. That's my advice. Uh, I
Yeah,
enjoy hitting
because
the bag.
Philly.
Even you know, everybody looks good against the bag. They can't hit
Hey,
back, but it is fun. It's like, you know, I do a lot of exercises, but there's nothing as fun as hitting the bag.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's real nice. when writing a story, taking you because I know you just came out with a book not long ago, Hook Off the Jab. What was you capturing in that book?
Well, that I'm going to hold this up now. I don't know if you can see it. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
Hook Off the Jab.
yeah,
Is that Terry Norris? Terrible
yeah.
Terry Norris?
That is Norris, and yeah, and the curry. And there's not a word about them in the
Okay.
book. That's sort of funny, but the cover picture is decided by the publisher. I just write the
Okay.
stories. Basically, the book is an anthology starting in 1980. That's the earliest story in there, even though I was writing in the 70s, and going all the way up to 2022. Um, Taken from a lot of different sources. Ring Magazine, of course, um, ESPN. I wrote a lot of columns for them. The British Boxing News, on and on and on. And so the only difficult thing about an anthology is deciding what picture, what stories are you going to use after you've been at it
Right.
45, 50 years. So I don't know if these are my best stories, but they are a real mixture. There's 44 stories in the book. It's a mixture of time. It goes back to the bare knuckle in some of the stories, and it's right up to today. It starts out with 3 articles about Muhammad Ali, and it ends up with 4 articles about Mike Tyson. And in between there was darn near everybody. Of course, there was a lot of Philadelphia fighters in there, but they weren't just Philadelphia fighters. They were fighters from all over the world. But
That's right.
anybody that enjoys boxing, I encourage them to buy my book. You can get it on Amazon for about $15. So it's not that expensive. And if you don't like one story, you can go on to the next because they're relatively
To the
short,
next.
except the Tyson interviews. I interviewed him in prison um, when he was in Indianapolis in prison. And I was with him for about an hour and a half. And the actual interview made Ring Magazine more money than any other story because other countries wanted to buy the interview. And I think about a dozen of them did. And they all paid except one. I won't say which country it was. But, you know, Mike Tyson was international and everybody knew him. And he's a good interview. Um,
Right.
then later, when he was released from prison and he was living in his mansion in Las Vegas, he let us go out there for 3 days, and that was another long interview. A lot of people go right to the back to read the Tyson stuff, but I urge you to read the other stuff as well because it's a real mixture, and you might learn something. Um,
That's right.
I think some people that don't know boxing would be interested in a certain degree because I just don't write about. I don't think I've covered like any fights. It's all about the fighters, the people, the culture at the time, and what was going on. And you know, it was great to be around for so long. I mean, to start with Mike Tyson, and end up with Crawford. There's a story about Crawford in there. There's a
Yes.
history of Mexican boxing. So, it's a wide ranging thing. And if I sold a few more copies, I might do another one.
Okay. Okay. Uh, when you said Mexican fighters, the first thing came to mind was the Meldrick Taylor and Chavez fight, the first fight, not the second fight, the first fight. Uh,
That
did
that
you
was
do any
really
coverage on that?
something. That was really something. Um, I knew Meldrick Taylor very well because he was a Philadelphia fighter. And it was a magnificent fight. And, some people think the ref should have stopped it, some people think he shouldn't. I don't really know, why should I be the person to make a decision? I think it was probably right either way. Um,
Right.
he was, in really bad shape after that big right hand. And
Yeah.
I don't know if he could have lasted, but if he could have, he would have won the fight. But, Meldrick went downhill after that first fight. He
Yeah.
actually did win a piece of the welterweight championship, but he was never the same fighter. Um,
No.
so, it's hard to say. But the actual story about the Mexican fighters starts at the beginning with Kid Azteca. You've probably never heard of him, but he was their first big hero. And he was the
Okay.
welterweight champion of Mexico for something like 15 years. I can't remember how long it was exactly. And he started boxing shortly after the Mexican Revolution. He was a kid when the revolution was going on. And
Right.
he came over to the United States, beat some good American fighters. And when he was starting to go downhill, that was in the 1950s when television came to Mexico. And he was such a big hero in Mexico. When the television came, he continued about for another 10 years. They didn't mind if he
Mm.
was fighting guys that were not really that great. He was Kid
Right.
Azteca, and he was now on television. So he was the guy
Yeah.
that really started it for Mexico. He was around for a long time, and
Right.
after that, a lot of the Mexican fighters came to the United States. And there was a golden era in the 70s, with a lot of great Mexican fighters. And it's still ongoing, I think that there's always going to be great Mexican fighters. Who knows who's next?
Right. Right. Okay. I normally ask all the fighters this: what's your top five pound for pound of all time
Well, I'm
fighters?
going to tell you something. We did pound for pound list for a long time in all of the magazines I worked for. And the only
Right.
reason I did it was because the fans liked it. And it's their magazine, really, they're paying. Um, I think it's a bunch of crap. Uh, because Usyk's on the top of a lot of, pound for pound list. Uh,
Right.
Inoue's not going to fight him. You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
ridiculous. It is an arena of the mind, and it's a
That's
fun game to play. But really, it's a crock of shit. And I can say that now. I don't have to do it.
right.
But you cannot compare the little guys and the big guys and the in between guys. It's a different thing for different divisions, and some fighters can go up. Um, Most fighters that move up in weight lose their punch. Um, Canelo
Right.
hasn't been knocking anybody out lately. Neither has Crawford. They're two great fighters, two of the greatest fighters today. So
Right.
I tell you one fighter who did keep his punch. That was Manny Pacquiao. He started as a flyweight and
Mm-hmm.
ended up winning
Right.
like the super middleweight title or the junior middleweight title. I mean, but that's rare. Um,
Right.
Roberto Duran, the greatest lightweight of all time. When he moved up,
Right.
not so good. He was still a great fighter, but he wasn't knocking them out unless they were, tune-up fights or something like that. So, that's what I feel about it. That the pound for pound is just a game. If you want to play
Right.
with that, that's fine. Boxing fans are always going to do that, but it's when you take it seriously that I think that the whole thing falls apart. And but I did it, but I don't have to
That
do
was
it
funny.
anymore. You're asking me who's the greatest fighter. I don't know. I think favorites come into consideration with a lot of people. Not everybody can be honest about it. Um, I love all the fighters from the 70s that fought in Philadelphia. Benny Briscoe, Cyclone Hart, Bobby Boogaloo Watts.
Hmm.
There were so many at that time when boxing the Spectrum had its own boxing program. Tyrone Everett, of course. Um, but, those guys are all done.
Hmm.
But I have to separate the Philadelphia fighters because I'm always going to vote for them. I'm a
That's
fan
right.
as well. But
Right.
today, I don't really know who's the best fighter. Some people say Usyk, some people say Crawford, some people say Inoue. They're all in different divisions, and you really cannot match them against each other, I don't think. But like I say, I think it's fun, and but it's not anything you can really count on. This guy's number
That's
one
right.
in the world. He's got to be the best. Maybe he's not the best. Maybe a middleweight's the best. It's just something that I think you should have just not take it too seriously, and then
That's
then
right.
that's fine. But if you're hanging on it, uh, is the best fighter in the world. Who's number one? Who's number two? It's not going to work. It's not going to work in real life.
That's right. That's right. Well, I really, really thank you for your time. We've been trying to do it for like weeks after weeks after weeks, but we finally got it, and I really
Yeah, it's
appreciate it. I
been, I don't
appreciate
know.
your wisdom.
Finally, we got it together. I don't know how we did it. I was just pushing buttons, not necessarily what you told me to push. But anyway, congratulations on your show and the best for you because but boxing needs a voice and there's a lot of them, but not too many. And I think
Yes,
everybody who has a podcast has something different to bring. And
that's right.
good luck
And
with
we
it.
Philadelphia.
And I'll be back again sometime and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
talk again.
Yes, sir. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
bye bye.
And peace. All right.
Bloodline streamed as hard as it seems. Royalty. Royalty was your reality. A normality that blasphemes today. For at any moment, a stray may ricochet and kill your kin. No longer are you the preeminent wonder of the world, for kings have been fooled, schooled, and now ruled.
We all live different lives, we all got different goals. Life is all about choices, gotta pick and roll. Can't go forever tricking hoes off of flipping nose. Follow me, get superstitious like you split the pole. First you was hot on the trail, now it's getting cold.